My name is Max Niggle, and I was diagnosed in November of 1987. I now realise that I had a severe flu-like illness back in 1984, and they couldn't work out what was wrong. But in hindsight, we now know that that was the seroconversion illness. So living with HIV for that long, it's been quite the journey. I'm 69 and I'm going to be 70 in about 1.5 weeks. Pretty devastating and almost a sense of disbelief that this was happening to me. I sort of felt that I wasn't at risk, but in hindsight, obviously I was. That was probably about a little bit of lack of education back then. And all it did was to engender a fear of how long I've got to live, which is still a question that's asked, I think, by people who are more recently diagnosed, but back then it was the death sentence. And I think each time going to see the doctors and nurses at Fairfield House, I was probably fearful all the way there and wondering what was going to happen with the next round of blood tests. So it was quite the challenge, but I have to say Fairfield Hospital had an amazing sense of duty of care, and the doctors and nurses were incredible all the way through. And in fact, one doctor who I was seeing over there is still my physician. So it's quite remarkable. The hard thing was telling my family, or some of my family, and a few friends, to wonder whether I was going to be rejected, how much education I'd have to do, and then of course, would I be able to continue working? Now, I was lucky, I was able to continue working. But in 1988, I came down with an AIDS-defining illness, put into hospital, very sick, at Fairfield Hospital, seeing a lot of young men, even sicker than I was, but somehow I got through that and I was able to go back to work. From there on, it was a bit of a roller coaster, wondering what was going to happen. The treatments back then, what I was put on was not very effective. But you had very few T cells left, so you seized what you could, and then it went on. The first diagnosis was 1995, and that was just a surgical removal, and then nothing more was said. But then in 1996, because I'd made sure I had regular checkups, the cancer had returned. So I had more surgery, and then I seemed to be fine for a few years until 1999, when it was quite significant, and the doctors then said I would have to undertake radiotherapy. Chemotherapy wasn't an option back then. It would have killed me because of low CD4 counts and having HIV. So that in itself was a really challenging 6 weeks of treatment. But then the pain in the recovery period for several months was really, really difficult. It was what I call double jeopardy, because I was living with HIV, the treatments still weren't very good. I'm facing another significant health concern, and my ability to manage the two was pretty much juggling balls up in the air and wanting to keep working. So I had this driving thing about working. Keeping me interested and occupied was the way to get through some of these things. Not sure if it was avoidance strategy, could have been, but there's also a grim determination that I was going to get through this no matter what. So after the radiotherapy, they do a series of tests, and after 5 years they said, oh, you're cancer-free, you're fine. But what happened then, within 6 months, it came back. So because I had radiotherapy, I was unable to have that again. Chemo still wasn't an option, and so I had to have significant surgery to remove all the cancerous area, and then that all went wrong, and I'm in hospital for about 5 weeks, and then I had to have another round of surgery, and that worked. And then suddenly I'm being discharged home to recuperate. And after a few months, I was returning to work part-time and have continued to work ever since. So the cancer has not recurred, which is the good news story. By then though, treatments have become so much better, and I'm starting to see my CD4 cells rise nicely, and thinking, wacko, you know, they're up at about 200 or so. I'm maybe going to get through this. And from there on, the treatments just got better and better and better. And until I'd say the last 15 years, I really haven't had a detectable viral load, and my treatment regimes have become simpler, and the side effects, of course, have become far less, to the point where the last decade I hardly think about HIV. It's more about other things now. I think the best thing was retirement 3 years ago. Suddenly all the pressures of work came off my shoulders, and I started to look forward to a different life. Neil, my husband, is really supportive of me, and you know, we have a great relationship, so that's a plus. It's also been that I've been able to probably reconcile work relationships versus really good friendships, and make choices about who I see, and to enjoy their company, to enjoy wine, enjoy food, and enjoy life. But the good thing is, I think you can take life more slowly. You can relax more. You're not putting yourself under deadlines all the time. And you know, in my case, I used to beat myself up if I didn't do so much every day. Whereas now, you know, tomorrow's another day, so it can wait. It's a nice period of my life. In also, I think, having more wisdom, being more mature, not getting as outraged about social injustice and discrimination and how dare people treat you like that, because there's more to life than what's happening day to day in the media. One good thing about it is that I read what I want to read in the media, and I try not to let it consume my life like my love of politics used to consume my life. And the sector, working in the sector for so long, that sort of enabled me to be more attuned to the vagaries of life, and working with other people whose HIV had affected them a lot more. So I turned out in a way to be lucky and of course quite privileged. But looking forward, you know, Neil bought a house in the Barossa 5 years ago now, which we restored and renovated. We get there as often as we can, and that's where we will retire when he retires and my mum finally goes. But meanwhile, I manage that as a short-term accommodation, as a bed and breakfast. So that keeps me occupied. I still volunteer on 2 Alfred Health committees, and that also takes me into another realm of interest, keeps my mind going. But also running a business again is you know, almost going back 40 years to when I ran my own business. So, you know, life's good. I look forward to however much longer I've got. And whilst the last 2 years my health has had quite a few challenges, and I've had surgeries and recovery, and that's still ongoing, I seem to have reduced my anxiety about health concerns, and yeah, so things are better, no matter what. I think it's about taking life as it comes. It's about not being worried about your future, because no one can predict the future. So that's my first message. But embrace it. Embrace aging, and no matter what your health throws at you, the old adage, almost look on the bright side, or that's life. Take it easy. Work out what your interests are, what your hobbies are. Try to maintain your friend circle, because that's crucial, your social connection. With your health, I think it's again being as literate as you can be about living with HIV and any other health conditions, and especially when it comes to heart health and lung health, physical health and mental health. They're the things that I think we should keep on top of. Not let it slide and think, oh, I'm okay, but keep up with your medical appointments. Keep your network of health people around you. And if you need peer support, there's a great place to go to, and that's called Living Positive Victoria, and their range of programs. So living well with HIV over 50 and into your 60s and 70s and beyond is about remaining connected to the services and the support that you need. And maybe I'm lucky in saying I'm pretty self-sufficient, and I don't need that most of the time. But at times it's great to reach out, to have a discussion with someone who's lived the experience that you have lived. And we're still here, and we're still able to do that. So that'd be my message. Quite the roller coaster, Vic. Yeah.
Come through though.
Yeah. Still smiling.
You have to.